Doug Mazeski.
Well, we did a third best of episode.
We were really whipping those out, aren't we?
We were. It still makes me marvel at people that are willing to be guests on our show.
Yeah, we had about, 50 guests at least already. I mean, a lot of them did 2 episodes.
We've put up a bunch of episodes. Are we
we're
coming in on 90 or
we're coming
plus?
up, well, when this is filmed, we're coming up to 90. When this is shown, I think we'll be over 100.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know.
If you had asked me a few years ago whether we would do this or not, I would have said probably not, but hey, it's been good.
Beach filming weddings,
Yeah,
scary.
I wouldn't film weddings. That's a good way to get yourself killed. Anyways, tonight's recap is a really interesting series of guests that we had. We had a gentleman by the name of Dee Walker, who fled Liberia to come to the United States and
got
had
an
a story in that.
education, convinced immigration to bring his family along.
Yeah, fascinating.
Fascinating story.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Aaron Schick, who's I know from Toastmasters, and he's also in the financial services industry.
Yeah.
And we had April from the Fox and Toad, not Hound.
Who was an illustrator for a book, selling very well on Amazon.
And she's
Beautiful
also
pictures.
an artist in her own right, and she is not on Fox and Hound on Instagram. She's on Fox and Toad. I got that wrong several times. Then after that, we had another friend of mine from Toastmasters, Doug Nelson, an ex-Navy guy, and
He talked about spiders in space.
yeah, he loves to talk about space and his thoughts and opinions
Worked for NASA,
on aliens and that sort of thing. And we would just like to point out for that episode that the opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect
all the
those.
episodes.
All the episodes reflect the
maybe a little
opinion
more.
of management of 2 Minute Duck Entertainment or the Third Chair.
Maybe a little more on that episode.
Yeah. And then we had Ralph Diagiano back on. He put together the Short Circuit Film Festival, and we've talked about that.
Which
we'll have
we
episodes.
filmed, yeah.
And and man, when we filmed that episode, do you remember how hot it was in the studio? I mean,
I think it
we
was
were all,
even hotter when Amy was here.
we were all like dripping sweat.
I know.
Yeah, and then we had Amy on, the gal
Gave
from
all our guests plenty of water those 3 weeks.
Yeah, Amy has a company, Colorado Tight Flies, and she has a tie flying business and is also doing really well with Instagram.
We show highlights of the demonstration she did.
Yeah, she did that frog, and I forget what the other one was, but it was pretty cool.
I know, it's interesting because I've never seen anybody do that before.
No, I hadn't either, and she made it look so easy and so fast. It was quick.
I know.
Yeah. So that's a broad selection of guests of ages and opinions, and we hope you enjoy the best of series with those guests.
And then Dee Walker.
Dee Walker.
Immigrant from Africa.
Yeah, it was Liberia, right?
I think it was.
Yeah, I remember. A very humble man, very passionate man, and he had some real stories about you remember
His immigration story I thought was
where it was like he was offered a spot but only one spot, and he said, no, if I can't bring my family, I'm not going to take it. And this is when Liberia was in civil war.
Yeah.
And you may remember too, Liberia also had the Ebola outbreak of virus. It was that was like the major country in Africa where the Ebola virus.
Liberia. It was kind of like a bad news place.
It was a bad news place
at that time.
Yeah,
all around, and he got his family here, and I say kudos for him because I tell you, it probably was not easy communicating that, and getting people in this country is not easy.
No.
And, welcome to the Third Chair. We have Peter back as my co-host, and our special guest star today is Dee Walker. Welcome, Dee.
Thank you so much.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Run the applause, Jan Meter.
Now, You were born in the United States. Tell us where you
No,
come from.
actually, I came into the United States in 2001. I was born in Liberia. Yeah. So
Liberia. So that's-
I'm originally from Liberia.
Is that Western Africa?
Yes, it's in the west coast of Africa. I always say the other side of the Atlantic Ocean.
Ah, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
just a hop for us.
Yeah. Well, hop.
You just got to hop around across the ocean.
Yeah.
A short swim.
No, I don't know about that. Of course, I'm not a good swimmer. But
Oh, me too. Me too. No. I mean, I grew up by the sea, but unfortunately, I can't swim that well.
Oh, wow.
So did you take lessons as a kid, or did they just throw you in
No.
the ocean? Or
No. I
what?
mean, yeah. I mean, as boys, we just ran around, jump in the ocean, see how we can just sink with the waves. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. So tell us about your family growing up.
Well, I was the fifth child of 9 siblings.
So
Oh,
you
wow.
were
Yes.
you were really in the
Yeah.
middle of
Yes,
a lot of kids.
Yes. My 4 sisters were older than me, and then I was the first guy, and after that, another guy, and then 2 girls and another guy.
Wow.
So yeah.
So-
So I was really stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and then the girls outnumbered you.
Yes, they did. I mean,
Especially the-
6 girls and 3 boys.
Yeah, especially since they were oldest too.
Man,
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't imagine the battle for the washroom in the morning.
Oh,
especially if people want to put on makeup, it would have been terrible.
Well, I'm telling you what, it was, I say this to my kids. They are really fortunate because we grew up, me and my 8 siblings, we grew up in a 2-bedroom house
Oh, wow.
with no indoor plumbing. So everything was outside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So my sisters slept in one room, my parents slept in another, and me and my brother slept in the living room.
Oh, wow.
So you probably, I was gonna say you probably could sneak the TV on, but did you have a TV?
Not until later in life when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
But we usually went to the neighbor's house. The neighbor, usually a neighbor who's well-to-do, had a TV, and growing up it was black and white. So we would go there, and then later on, multicolor TV came on. But in our home, no, we didn't have a TV.
And then he was, if I recall correctly, heavily involved in like the university system and academics and teaching. And we had a good discussion, and it's worth watching on that episode where we talked about the importance of students learning to critically think, and that he felt like that was a skill that didn't seem to be developed as much in higher levels of learning anymore.
I think it should start at lower levels, and I always thought the best way to do that is in history. I talked to my future son-in-law about this the other day, and I said, yeah, I would have a lot of essays in my history test, because I said the reason they teach history is so you learn from mistakes of the past, but then they have you memorize a lot of dates, and that is not going to teach you how to get mistakes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How do you, if you just know the dates, you don't learn the history, so you maybe don't repeat the mistake of the past?
Plus, you don't get a chance to analyze it.
Yes.
And that's where you're right.
Yeah.
I was, finally in college, I had one professor whose tests were all essays. And he would have 3 of them on a test, and you answer 2 of them. You pick whatever 2 you want, and you answered them, and you better put a logical argument to whatever
Sure.
it was. And that, and that was like, oh my gosh, this is like great. This is better than remember. And I love history, but those history books were awfully dry when you went to high school.
Well, I did 2 degrees in Canada, and it's very much the British system where there's a lot of essay questions in college courses. That was one of the first things I noticed when going to school in the U.S. was it tended to be a lot more multiple choice kind of tests.
Yeah, and sometimes that's good.
So there's value to it.
There's
Absolutely.
value to it,
Yeah.
and then they said, and then quite frankly, in some of our the CPA, which I took a couple of times, they said, well, they were too subjective and not enough objective. But their subjective questions were really objective questions in disguise. You just had to show your work and how you arrived at it, but you had to arrive at basically a certain number or a certain answer.
I had a couple of courses where it was a little bit scary. One was a zoology course where we were given one paper from the scientific literature, and it happened to be on the breathing mechanics of giraffes. And basically he said, I'm going to ask you a question on this one paper. You have to write an essay for the final. It's 100% of your grade. And that was a little nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah.
And then another guy who did this biomechanic course who took it a step further. He said, 30-minute oral exam with me. And he says, in 30 minutes, I'll find out what you know or you don't know.
He probably did, didn't he?
Oh, he did, yeah.
Professors like that, they care.
Well, the thing
because
was...
it's harder work for them to grade an essay than multiple choice. Because multiple choice, you
just run it through the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was what was really unique. I thought this guy was very clever, though, too, because what I found out he did is everyone tended to get a pretty good grade on the oral exam, and people got a good grade, so they were happy, and he didn't have to read papers, and he could just submit grades. I mean, I thought the guy was actually brilliant, the way he, like everyone was happy.
But he probably did find out how much you knew about.
Oh, he did. I remember
subject.
one of the questions I got. I had to explain the biomechanics of the forces of someone doing a slap shot in hockey with the puck, and how because when you do a slap shot in hockey, you hit the ice before the puck.
Oh,
it's not like golf. You don't hit the puck directly, and that bends the stick, and then it whips in addition to the forward through. So it's different than a golf swing. And so you had to explain that, and he was happy with my explanation. Although, just for the record, I got an A- in that course.
Oh, that might probably still have nightmares about it.
Doesn't that get you kicked out of Canada?
Yeah,
No wonder he came to the United States.
No,
Shame and shame.
I just thought the whole way he put it all together was brilliant. I mean, what a great way, no test during the year, an oral test, everyone does pretty well, a minimum of paperwork, he gets good reviews from the students. It's like, the art of being a professor.
So you remember Aaron Schick?
Aaron Schick, oh yeah, Aaron.
Yes.
Yeah, a friend of mine from Toastmasters.
Yeah, I guess you
Yeah,
would
he's
remember.
in the financial planning industry as well.
He's a very intelligent young man.
Yeah, really fascinating. One of the things that Aaron shared, and he did at the club a lot, he has traveled all over the world. He's gone to he's really into meditation, and so he's gone all over the world to study under meditation.
And he
gurus.
learns about these countries too. I mean,
Yeah,
he
he
also
does.
talks to the people, not the like a normal tourist people, but the people out, that don't yet normally see Americans and sees what their views are, and very perceptive.
And he doesn't go in terms of a fancy ritzy trip. He stays at youth hostels and does things that might even be viewed a little on the dangerous side. So he was in a bad accident in Thailand. He went down these series of waterfalls. He slid
Yeah, he told that story.
Yeah.
Hopefully the producer shows that one.
Yeah, he really enjoys that, and then he's also really into space.
Yeah, he taught me a lot about Mars.
Yeah, he
what they're
loves
doing now.
trying to figure out, can you get a rocket ship to Mars, and what are all the challenges and the problems?
Because through the years, people have brought up these questions, and I mean they're very good questions. And right now, NASA and other people are trying to answer these questions.
Didn't we also talk about like the geodomes and the artificial, people in those environments where they can come
because
in
that's
and
one of
out?
the ways that they were trying to see if that would work.
And everything they didn't think about.
Went wrong.
Yeah. And that's why they do these, because when you're up in Mars, you're not going to be able to correct it. And there, they waited a while, and they might have almost waited too long to correct one of the problems.
Yeah, one of the problems, as I recall, was that the cement in part of the construction was actively sucking up oxygen.
Yeah.
It's like, who knew cement sucked up oxygen?
And it took them a while to figure that out, and then they were like, should we go? And
they cheated a little bit. They started adding a little extra oxygen.
That's what they finally made the decision to do. But you're not going to be able to do that on Mars, so that's one of the things they have to consider, and that's why they do the tests, because, as our producer said, what you don't think of, that's what's going to go wrong, and
Or as
it's hard to
you
correct.
said before, Peter, the unintended consequences.
Yeah, they also had a problem with algae that got them as well. I forget what the algae did, but it was like, I didn't know if the algae grew that would cause the trouble. And then the thing that amazed me about that, and we talked about it a little bit, I thought, was like the people in the domes for 2 years, they were allowed to have a 1/4 ounce of meat twice a week, and that was it. And the rest was all plant-based.
Yeah, because that's supposed to be better for waste and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just think
And
they're
how-
trying to keep the meat fresh and all. It's more of a, it's just like I wouldn't have lasted more than a week.
And then if they make beans the primary meal for a week, everybody's in trouble.
Oh man!
Yeah. One night we we did a trip together. We did a kind of like a festival, and we had Doug and Peter, Doug our producer, and Peter and Adam, the vegetarian place, and they said how great it was. And the first thing the next morning they went and got hamburgers.
Wendy's double burgers. Oh, they were good.
And because they went more than 8 hours without meat or something.
Well, what was amazing is we went to the Wendy's, I think, just for coffee, and then one of us just happened to ask, do you do burgers at 8 a.m.? And it was like, yes. It's like, doubles.
There were four patties on the grill, right?
Yeah, so what would living on Mars be like? Would if people was in
there's no cows on Mars, so
well, you have to bring the cow, so I imagine there'd be the same restrictions.
Yeah.
The same restrictions on what you could eat even.
Right.
So that might make it impossible for people to go. Now, the other thing that Aaron talked about that was really interesting on the episodes was that he was in the financial planning area, and we talked a little bit about some of the unscrupulous financial planners and some of the things to look for good ones, and the fact that some of them just like take a big chunk of your retirement fund without really doing anything for you. And so he gave some good things to watch for and to think about. Welcome to the Third Chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and we have our special guest, Aaron Scheck, today. Aaron, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, we're going to kick all this off talking about a group where we met, Toastmasters. How long have you been in Toastmasters?
That's an interesting question. I didn't know it's been this long. I am 10 years.
No way.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
Do you
like
get a
that.
little pen or anything?
There's a mug. You get a
Get a
mug
mug?
when you join, and I'm not aware of a 10-year badge or token of any type.
You know, we might want to do that. Maybe we can get a 10-year baseball cap or
We could
something.
do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So Toastmasters has a reputation about helping people learn to public speak, but is that all that it's about?
They talk about public speaking for sure, but it's also kind of also networking, and you have to network in an interesting way because it's not like the aggressive sales side of networking, but getting to know people, helping out, volunteering, and then I've gotten a job from it. I've had some really lifelong friends come out of it, and definitely got mentors and support outside of it too. So
You know what they say, that your network is your net worth. Well, what do you think? Is that just an overblown financial platitude?
I don't think so at all. I think that's a great point, and I think someone just said that to me the other day, and I was like, wow, your network is your net worth. That's pretty good. I'm going to try to hold on to that. I've heard it said as, it's not what you know, it's who you know that matters most. And I totally agree that that's a thing. I'm probably not doing it the best of ways that it could be done, but I am going to make strides to go that direction.
Well, I think, what you know does matter, to some extent. I mean, let's just pick an example. Suppose you're hired as, say, an auditor, but you don't know anything about accounting. Even if you have friends that are going to give you the job, it's going to be hard to keep it.
Totally.
Yeah. Same with the doctor, it's like,
Yes. I definitely...
It's hard to go do an operation if you haven't been to medical school.
yeah.
I would imagine. Except on a TV episode, sometimes those guys can fake it.
Yeah, I love that one that says here, "Are you a doctor?" No, but I slept at a Holiday Inn.
But again, Holiday Inn Express, they're out there doing great stuff.
Yeah, that was a good commercial.
So I do a little bit of life coaching, and I'm always interested in the idea of how you help people overcome fear. And I think that's one of the remarkable things that I've seen at Toastmasters is people that are really, really frightened of public speaking within the course of a year, make massive gains. Has that been your experience?
Definitely. I think Toastmasters that's one thing they do excellent. And how people who were scared of it, they get you speaking in a comfortable setting, and then they don't overwhelm with too much information, and they just get people up there and they get them talking. I think it's done more for me than my Com 100 class in college, which was just 5 speeches, stock speeches, get you up in front of the class. I think Toastmasters did a lot more.
And then there was April Robinson. She
April
was another
Leavenly.
honor.
April Lavely Robinson.
Yeah, this is the only guest that chewed out the entire crew here for not watching a movie. Because we had not watched Beetlejuice.
Well, it's because you kept asking questions about it, but I had watched Beetlejuice.
I'd seen it
But
like
one of our paintings was inspired by Beetlejuice, and when you
That's
did get
weird.
it, you almost had to stand in the corner of the studio.
just about we did. I know, it was crazy. And the thing is, I remember, was it Warren Beatty or no?
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. That's right. He was in it, but boy, that was a young Michael Keaton. That was a long time ago.
That's right. But she was a young lady. She's younger than us, that's for sure.
Oh, way younger.
Twice as young as we are.
Yeah. So, and she, of course, did some great art.
And then she has a book that was published and is selling on Amazon. And,
Do you remember the name of it?
the name of the book? No.
We'll flash it up on the
We'll
screen.
flash
but
it up.
She was the graphic artist. She's the one who did all the artwork for this children's book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
they got some
the
critical
art
acclaim.
and-
Yeah.
And the story was very good, and the art, it won an award.
Yeah, it did. I don't remember the name of the award, but it was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Yeah.
One day we'll win an award,
Oh yes.
probably for this episode.
I think so. Yeah. No, I just, So that's two guests that have kind of chewed me out. First, we had Joe Black when I fell asleep on set when he yelled at me to wake up.
The most impressive thing is we only had two that chewed you out.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll have
That's
to work
true.
on that. Doug and I will have to have separate contests.
Yeah, see,
Conversations
yeah,
with
we could be the
guests.
most upset with Peter, yeah. And
You know
in
what
April.
Peter said about you behind your back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think she wasn't the guest that I was out in the hall on a break and you guys started filming again and just you started without me.
That was with Kevin.
That was with Kevin.
Yes, Kevin
Yeah.
Persuade, one of the
One of the
One of
pot
the-
calling the kettle black
Artists.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, artist, great artist.
Yeah.
I really like his stuff, and you took too long of a break because we were here ready to go, and so we just started filming.
And
It was
I
the
know-
best. Someone wrote it was the best 2 minutes of the
Yeah.
third chair ever.
Yeah.
We canceled the vote we had taken while you were gone, which was to duct tape you to the chair with a catheter.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that to this day you think it was because I wasn't trying hard enough to get back here on time.
Well,
But
it
that
was.
is not exactly what was going on. I might have actually been
He was
talking.
eating tacos.
It was with your wife upstairs. She had a bunch of tacos, and yeah, she wanted to know how the filming was going. I said, "Oh, it's going great. Let me tell you about it."
Pass me that salsa.
And it's going great right this minute.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Those two down there. So that was April. Yeah, she was a great guest.
Welcome to the third chair. I wanted to show you. This is my favorite picture in the book.
Thank you.
This is
I
a
love that
boulder
one. Rolling
rolling down the hill, and it's
Yeah.
so happy it's a boulder. It was the top of a
Yeah.
mountain, and now it's a boulder. And I mean, that's a big change. And you think I was at
A
the
happy
top.
boulder.
A happy boulder.
Happy
I was
boulder.
at the top, and now I'm going to the bottom. But this is a new experience.
Yeah.
And you kind of did the same thing because you had your own business.
I did. I had to embrace change. I
You
had
had to
to.
embrace
Yeah.
it. You
And it was
embraced it.
scary. It was scary. I didn't know
But
what to expect.
but wasn't for change. I mean, this is a beautiful book.
Thank you.
And
It is.
it-
Ariana Platten is very, very talented. I'm actually doing the cover of her new book, which is for adults, and so she'll be launching that. But yeah, we'll be starting on that cover soon. Yeah.
That's really fantastic. You've mentioned change is scary. You've talked about embracing change. Do you remember the moment when you did it, either signing the documents to close the salon or finalizing the classes, and it's like, I've done it?
I think it was actually a road trip that my husband and I was on, and we were discussing the, potential to close the salon and pursue this goal. And first, I want to say that I wouldn't have been able to do this had it not been having such an amazing support system of my husband. My husband is just this whole process and my whole journey. He's just always, he believes in my work. And I think that if I didn't have that support and that safety, that embrace from him, I don't think that I would be courageous enough to do it. But he's just like, you can do this. I believe in you. He believes in my work. But we were on a road trip and he was just like, let's do it, and it was, and I just remember this feeling of not fear, but it was like a weight. It was just like, okay, like this openness, and it was excitement, and we just did it.
So you felt a little like the boulder rolling down the
I
hill?
did. It was
Like just
finally,
a
it was
roll,
almost just like a
like
surrender,
rolling.
just like, okay, we had all of these coincidences pop up, when I decided to do this, I was interviewed with the Gazette, and then, I got another write-up, and so all of these things just started falling into place, and I was just like, let's just do it. And so I'm a huge believer in, visualization and really feeling into your body and intuition if something feels right or doesn't feel right. And this just felt right. Like I needed to do this. I had to do this.
Real people, real stories, real life. We're looking for guests. We're looking for you here on the third chair. I'm Peter, that's Doug, and how many different ways can we have guests?
Oh, at least 3. We could have them here in the studio in Colorado Springs. We've had guests all the way from LA on Zoom, and we have gone on location, and we got our 3rd one already in the planning phase.
Awesome. Send us an email and we'll get you on the show.
Cats in space.
Cats in space.
Yeah, but our guest Doug Nelson talked about spiders in space.
Oh.
Welcome to the third chair. We have another Doug here, so that's totally going to confuse Peter all night because he doesn't even know which Doug he's talking to in real life. And now there's 3 of us. He's just gonna, if he goes bonkers. 2 S's? You have 2 S's at the name of Douglas?
Yep.
Wow, I seen that in last names, and not too much in first names. Interesting. Do you know why your
My
parents?
mother was of Scottish descent.
Oh.
She was the youngest daughter, so she wanted to keep the family name Douglas a little bit longer.
Okay. My wife just made her maiden name her middle name after we got married. So.
Well, I used to joke with my wife that part of the name she married me because my name is Nelson. It was easier to spell than the Polish name of Wieczesek. So,
Definitely. I'm Polish and I have no idea how to spell what you just said.
see what I mean?
So the first question I have on this list, given me by my esteemed colleague, is do you consider yourself an artist?
No.
No?
Maybe somewhat, but no. An artist is dedicated to his work and what he wants to design or produce. I do a lot of reading. I have a lot of imagination. And I have a lot of good potential stories. But I never really, or very seldom, get around to following through.
No. Do you ever do, because you're part of Toastmasters, right?
Correct.
Do you ever tell these stories at Toastmasters?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So wouldn't that make you an artist? Just being a
Well,
devil's
this is a
advocate
family
here.
podcast. If this is a family podcast, no, there are some stories I will not tell. Especially about astronauts.
Speaking of astronauts, we found out this evening that Doug was worked for NASA for a while.
Yeah.
And you helped design ways to make life easier when they were up at the space station. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, or more bearable.
More bearable.
Especially in the early days of the space program.
So did
It can get quite smelly up there.
Oh, okay. So it smelled better.
And
Well,
that's
less
sometimes the case of our studio, so we're used to it.
less rank, huh?
Yeah.
Let's
So,
think. Yeah.
so could you provide some of your work for the studio here because of
Well,
Peter?
I was working with the enclosed environmental systems. And you're talking about a closed cabin.
Oh, that's
But
right.
if you had too many insects, you want some cats maybe to dig them out.
Well, and he has his theory that cats are actually just aliens that get us to do whatever.
Oh,
Yeah, he was
So they
kind
had
of
to come here
toying with us a little bit. I think on some of that episode. I think some was sincere beliefs, or at least raising the question. But I think he was throwing some stuff out there too to
There is
toy
a
with us.
potential that the thing about cats is true, though, because
I read that as a story in other places.
Yeah.
That's not the first time I heard that story about cats being your
So-
masters.
Well, Doug, I knew from Toastmasters, and I invited him. And I don't know if we mentioned this on the episode, but we were in a local there's a category of speeches called tall tales, where you just basically make like a tale up, and it can be very colorful. There's really not any grounds to it, limitations to it, other than it can't be a series of jokes, but it's generally somewhat funny. Well, anyways, he beat me there. I got second place on that, and he got first place, and he gave a talk about when color entered the world. And it was a tall tale about how up to World War II the entire world was just in black and white, and then how color was added to the world in World War II.
My daughter and I, we used to have a joke about that. It was because I had pictures where I was in black and white, and so she says that was before the invention of color, and I said yeah. But it was a really great day when we got color. It was a super day, and you'll never experience that. And we just joke about it, but for years we had that joke.
Well, there's been movies, wasn't it Pleasantville, that the first part of the movie, they're all black and white, and then something happens to make everything
Well, everybody got out of the routine, because everybody was in a routine in Pleasantville, and then somebody else came there and they got them out of their routine, and they things they enjoy, and that's when the color became.
Now, does anyone remember in Schindler's List? I know a good portion of the film was in black and white. Is any of it in color?
There's one girl who's on the film for like 8-10 seconds, and she has on a red dress or a red coat or something, and she kind of just walks by. It's one of the ones.
That's definitely not a comedy.
No, that's not a comedy.
That is Wizard of Oz. Kansas was black and white.
Well, that makes
Oz
sense.
was color.
That was what was available, the technology at the time.
But
and that makes sense. Kansas, black and white.
But Oz was color. I mean,
that's right. The Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, I mean,
well, they
emphasized the color the way they did it.
They had the ability to do the Technicolor on films all the way back into the late 20s. It's just that it was so
expensive,
extremely expensive to do, and most people didn't have a way to watch it in color anyway.
Well, the movie theaters probably did, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how
I remember I was 12, so that was about 1971. We got our first color TV. Mm-hmm. Now that was a big deal, honestly, in the house. It was like, we can watch these shows in color now.
Mm-hmm.
It was fascinating. I mean, after watching, 9-10 years of my life, I've been watching a black and white TV.
And they had to film things in black and white in different colors. Like Superman's suit was, I think, green. Because the blue and the red didn't show up properly in black and white, so his actual suit was not Superman colors.
Yeah, I think the same was true with the Lone Ranger. When between the time during that series, he went from black and white to color as well. I think the original suit was green and then became blue when the color was available. Yeah, that's crazy.
But did you remember watching programs in black and white?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I remember the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour in black and white.
Oh yeah, I watched
eventually,
those.
Yeah, boy, it was, I don't know, mid-70s, late 70s when our family got a color TV. It was a while.
Yeah, ours was 71, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and my dad had he was one of the first people to have a remote control, because he would just tell me, get up and change it to channel 11.
Yeah. That kind of remote control also managed it was a really fancy remote control in that age, because it also could get a beer out of the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
that was not the only thing I had to do when I got up.
I remember for a long time in Canada growing up as a kid, we had 3 channels.
Yeah, 3 channels. And then we got PBS. And
then you had the UHF as well, which was you had to stand on the TV,
hold
on to your sister's hand.
We never we tried like once a year and said, nope, this isn't going to work. And we wouldn't do it for another year.
TBS, which is a huge cable company now, was a UHF channel in Georgia. That's where we watched all the UHF stuff. And then they got a lot of money and they created CNN and TBS and became big.
Big, yeah.
I mean, the strangest thing, though.
But you had to tune the TV, and actually our small TV got PBS better. And then you could watch Monty Python and some of the shows we only heard about.
And you could fix your TV by hitting it on the side really hard.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Now you can't do that.
You do that, you go to Walmart, you buy yourself a new flat screen TV.
Yeah, just totally crazy just how all that was.
Big TV like this, two guys had to carry a screen.
You
that
guys
big.
know the Beast upstairs, my massive TV. We still have it.
Oh yeah, we have carried that a couple times.
Yeah,
We've carried that a couple times,
Yeah. But no, TV was a lot different. Yeah. Even when we got cable, I remember ESPN, college hockey championships, and it looked like they were filming out of a warehouse because they didn't have very good sound. I mean, they were kind of, almost like doing it on the fly, like how are we going to fill 24 hours, and and how are we going to get production? Kind of like we do now. We're trying to figure out. We filmed some stuff kind of on the fly. They did the first couple of years on that. And now it's like it's hard to imagine a world without ESPN because they're almost like sports themselves.
Sure.
But during COVID, they were going to the really strange sports that no one really thinks about because the professional ones weren't playing anymore.
Yeah.
So they found some interesting stuff during that phase.
Well, earlier, ESPN, Australian Rules Football, and it got big here. And because it was cheap and it was already filmed, they just had to put it on, and they would use that for filler for their 24 hours. But then lo and behold, people were watching it, and they're going, "Oh,
yeah, why is he bouncing the football?"
The other one is there was a channel. It was called Madison Square Garden. It later changed to USA channel. It's still there.
USAA or something like that?
No, USA Network.
USA Network, yeah. But it was Madison Square Garden. The reason they called it that is they filmed whatever was happening. If it was the circus, if somebody was singing, Madison Square Garden, you could watch it on your cable channel.
Nice.
And if you had satellite back then, you would tune into a news station and you'd pick up before they actually went live and be able to watch what was going on behind the scenes.
Well, you know what happened to Johnny Carson? They would catch whatever they sent from New York to L.A. if you could do that. And so they caught Johnny Carson before they edited it. So somewhat similar. Yeah, and then Madison Square Garden, and then they had the wrestling on, and people. And it's like nobody said they watched wrestling, but the next morning, a guy pulled the other guy's pants down, and you could see part of his behind, and everybody was talking about it the next morning. No one watched it, but everybody knew about it and was talking about it.
Of course, that's probably an average day on Instagram.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the TV was a lot different in those days.
Crazy, yeah, how far it's come.
Specials on them than before. So
We even got to go to a film festival that he created and ask a whole lot of questions.
Sure, yeah.
We'll have episodes on that.
So he's a repeat guest as well. Very involved in the local community. Quite artistic in his own right, in terms of not so much acting, but a photographer and film producer, director.
One of the things is new. He's teaching a class at our local community college.
Well, and UCCS, the full university.
No, UCCS. That's right.
Yeah, boy, what a fantastic course that would be.
Oh,
He's doing an
it
introduction
would
to
be really
filmmaking.
good because he knows his stuff.
He's done it for 20, 25
and what
years.
he's doing, it sounds.
I took the class in 2012 when he wasn't there. I want his class.
Yeah, because one of the things they get in groups of 5, and how many films they got to make? 2.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and they got to work together as a group. And
And he tells them to get out of the studio, go into the real world, and film real stuff.
Yeah, and so I mean, those kids are going to learn a lot,
Yeah.
not just from him, but what they have to do, and they're going to have to be creative too.
Yeah, so that is a shameless plug for Ralph Giordano's Introduction to Filmmaking at the University of Colorado Springs. Check it out. You will not be disappointed.
He's a great guy who does
Yeah,
a lot
he's
for
taught
this
us some
community.
stuff too.
Oh,
Yeah,
a
he's
lot of
given us
stuff,
some,
and
you know.
he's given us a lot of support because we give him some of our films, and he has a monthly shirts festival, and we've been in it, and he's always encouraged us.
And he's willing to come in here and sit with us and talk for a little while. He's done it twice.
Oh, this last time too, man, the studio was so hot. Oh, it was brutal.
How hot was it?
Oh, it was so hot. We had hot dogs just lying around cooking on the on the studio.
That was
furniture.
Wait, that's a good idea. At least the producer can get a snack while you guys.
The producer wouldn't have a chance with Peter in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
he,
where the duct tape to the chair comes in.
yeah, he also welcomes new business. Check out his website as well, Ralph Giordano.
Welcome to the third chair.
Right here.
Welcome here.
I won't be cutting that out.
So Ralph, can you say your last name so I don't goof that up?
It's Giordano.
Giordano.
Our very, very, very special guest.
Oh, gosh. Well, I keep getting more and more special as we go along. but
You're
thank
very
you.
special. Yeah.
Yeah, end of the night, we won't have we have to put in parentheses.
Yeah, times
Square.
42.
Yeah, the square above it.
Special guest to the 42nd power.
So he doesn't take the whole segment saying how special you are. So one of the reasons we asked you here is you're hosting the Colorado Short Circuit Film Festival, and it's October 7th and 8th.
Yep.
And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're going into our 6th season. And last year we were virtual because of pandemic.
Only the last 2 years, right?
No, actually, 2020, we actually had the festival live. It was in February.
Oh,
And it
so
was just
you-
before shutdown.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
so you were smart.
2021 was the one year that we couldn't do it. We also,
Well, that's
and we'll
good,
talk
it's
about
only
this
1
too.
year.
We also brought back Indie Spirit Film Festival, but as a virtual event. So we decided that we wanted to wait on that before we come live again. And I'll talk more about that later. But Short Circuit, yeah, back for its 6th season, and it's back at Ivy Wild School.
Ivy
where
Wild
it's always
School.
been, and so it's nice just to be able to come back live. And it was interesting doing the virtual events, but it's just not the same as a live event because you don't have the interaction with your filmmakers. And I think that's really one of the best reasons why you want to go to a film festival, in addition to seeing the films, but then to be able to listen to the Q&A, and then you could talk to the filmmakers later. And it's also a place for not just audience interaction with the filmmakers, but then the filmmakers kind of network with each other. So that
Right.
big part of it was missing. So now we're going
Yeah,
to
there's
you
the
can
whole
stand in-
energy. Yeah, the
You can
whole...
stand in line for lunch and you can
And that's what happens. Yeah.
You make a deal, you know. Or
Absolutely. People can
agree
talk
to-
and chat about their films or what they're working on next. Or if somebody's a director of photography or a cinematographer, you know, somebody might say, hey, I saw your work. I'm interested in maybe working with you on a film or a project.
You know, that's so critical because, you know, as amateurs doing this, you know, sometimes you just need help and some extra bodies or maybe one special skill set. And when you're networking, you can trade. It's like, you know, a couple of us will be extras for your music video if you can sing me a song or something. And that really helps getting things done without having to have like a giant cash budget.
Well, networking is really the most important thing, especially in the indie film world.
And then there was Amy, who also was a repeat guest.
Amy, yeah, was she our first on location film?
Yes,
Filming?
we filmed that up at Twin Lakes.
Twin Lakes, yeah.
Way up in Twin Lakes, a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And this time she came to our studio, filmed 2 episodes.
Yeah, and she like tied in real time right in front of us a couple of flies. Do you remember that? One
Yeah,
was like
I think
some
3
kind of
total.
frog or something.
Yeah.
Yes, she gave the frog to my wife, and it's up in my wife's art studio.
Yeah, that's good. I hope she put a piece of cork on the hook. But yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That's her business. She's doing very well in that
Yeah.
business.
The other thing she's managed to do.
She gets a lot more viewers than a certain show that we love dearly.
Well, that's is new for her. She's gotten a bigger response to on Instagram, so she has monetized it. And you know, she's not making millions of dollars, but she has sort of cleared the first hurdle and is getting
Yeah,
a paycheck every
Big hurdle.
month
So
now,
yeah. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
so kudos to her. Yes.
Yeah.
And she talked about raising her son Zeke, and a lot of it is the joys of motherhood, and some of it is some of the stresses.
The stresses of the fatigue of motherhood.
The fatigue. And,
Well,
Yeah.
she really shared deeply the struggles she's been through, and for young women that have gone through similar things, she gave them something they can hold on to and realize you can get beyond the difficult times.
Sure,
yes,
yeah.
doing a lot better now.
Yeah, so she's pretty excited about what the future holds. I thought she did a good job explaining that, and you know, she's another you know, single mom that if you have a chance to support her business, that would also, I think, be a good thing.
Come back to another episode of The Third Chair. This time I'm going to introduce Amy first.
Hello.
And then I still have to, I know, I knew you'd be pouting.
I never get to talk. Yeah, hi.
You keep talking probably even in your sleep.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Last week was close to you. You only said 2 more words than I did.
Yeah.
We have a statistician count them every week.
That's the way, yeah. We run the stats on every show.
Yeah.
It's a union requirement that we're within 5%.
80% of the episodes you talked more, and no, of the 80 episodes we filmed so far, 78 you talked more, and 2 I talked more. So.
We'll get an accountant on the show, then it's going to be all Doug.
You know, but what I'd like to say, those 2 shows where you talked more than me, you talked way more than me. It's like I was silenced.
It's okay, guys. It's okay. You don't have to fight.
Oh God! Somebody broke us up. Does that come from raising a 3.5-year-old child?
Yeah, I mean, he's the one trying to fight me usually, so it's like, don't fight me. Let's break it up.
You know, my daughter, if she would challenge anybody when she was young, she would challenge her mother. And
No, for me it was my
wife,
father.
What, you challenged your father, or you
Oh, yeah.
like worked him?
I'd work him.
So your son Zeke,
Yeah,
who does he challenge most?
definitely me. Because he gets away with so much stuff because he's so cute and loving and I just want to give him everything, but I know discipline, no spoiled, BRATS.
Well, you can have a little stuff.
I mean, yeah, a little spoiled doesn't hurt, but.
Oh, I maybe you'd share a few Zeke stories.
I don't know where to begin.
So are you surprised? Like, I was surprised when my daughter, and then seeing my parents with her, and like, oh, she needs this and she needs that. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember her buying stuff like that for me.
Right, yeah, seriously. It's crazy nowadays compared to when we were kids, but then again, my parents had me taken care of. I was honestly very spoiled, and like, it's not a bad thing. I think I turned out great, but
Does not hurt.
yeah, you know.
Oh, I had 3 daughters, and they worked me. They gave me the puppy dog eyes. Daddy, will you buy me a Barbie laptop? What? Daddy, will you buy me a horse? A horse? Daddy, will you take me to Dunkin' Donuts? Okay.
These suck when they fall on your floor. So they're literally like
Is that
so tiny.
Oh, what number hook is that?
This is a size 20 hook.
A 20 hook.
Yep. And the biggest fish will bite this little thing. You'd be surprised.
Wow.
I was. Oh yeah, some little tiny tungsten beads. Itty bitty.
How many hooks do you use? Just one per fly?
Yeah.
I mean, are there ever flies that you use more than one hook?
No, not that I have come across yet.
So how do you get your hooks?
I buy them at a tying shop or just a fishing store that has tying supplies.
Do they have many tying shops?
Um,
Or is that online, or?
There is a good amount in Colorado, just because fly fishing is pretty popular with all of our rivers and mountains and everything. And those stores that are specifically for fly tying are like so much better than just like Bass Pro Shops or like Sportsman's Warehouse. They have a tiny section, but it's not that great. Okay.
Do you like to experiment with different hooks and different?
Oh yes. Any size. Send them my way, I'll tie something with it.
So it sounds like you should be pretty easy to shop for Christmas. Just like send me flying tying gear.
Definitely.
Or tie flying gear. Fly tying gear.
That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, it is.
Alright, so this is going to be a Rainbow Warrior.
A Rainbow Warrior.
Super effective for trout fishing.
Do fish see colors at all, or do they know, or?
Yeah, they definitely do, I believe.
So, I don't. That's a good question. I'm not sure whether some fish are colorblind or if they only see kind of black, white, and gray.
Yeah, I read something about dogs might not be as colorblind as they thought. Or at least as much as I was taught, or something like that, when I was in school. But that was
So many of those things where they tell you this is what your dog or cat is thinking.
Hi, I'm Peter from Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching, and as you know, I do help people with drug and alcohol recovery issues. I love to help people get better, but I also offer a variety of other services, including regular life coaching services. I've helped several people write and finish a book. I've helped a doctor that was in medical school graduate and then get into a residency. And I also actually have quite a background in mathematics, and I do some math tutoring for the GED as well as the ASVAB for those that are thinking about a career in the military. So my contact information is on the screen. Please send me an email or a text, and we can talk about some of these services and how I can help. That's Peter Grigg at Pikes Peak Recovery Coaching.
sore throat from this cold weather. They get the cough drops out of the tent here.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it with my sore throat. Yes, this last best of episode 3. The guests came, we filmed them, and they left.
Yeah. And now it's time to eat. You get the tuna with the s'mores, and I get the marshmallow with the s'mores.
Oh man, that'd be okay if you did it with saltine crackers and maybe some melted
But did
cheese
you bring
or
crackers
something.
for your tuna?
No.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
You goofed up, didn't you?
Yeah, that is.
You could have melted the cheese here.
That is my contribution for the health of America. Eat tuna fish rather than s'mores.
With the s'mores taste a lot better. And I like tuna fish.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
This has been The Third Chair. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. Want to